Be sure to comment about what you think of the video, only if you want to, you don't have to. Hi everyone, and welcome to season 1, episode 1 of my videos called Sweetheart, Angelheart, Tweetheart. Or if you want to call Sweetheart Angel for short, that's fine too. I'm your host Cameron, and before I get started, I would like to share what these videos are about. Sweetheart, Angelheart, Tweetheart videos are about showing different ways that you can be sweet and kind to people when trying to make a living. Let's get started. For today's topic is going to be called making sure of something. Making sure of something can be used in different ways. Let's say that you felt like that you offended someone. It's good or okay to make sure that you didn't offend someone by asking them. Although you may not check to see if you offended someone by asking them, because this person has said that he or she would tell you if he or she were offended. Now, in some cases, you would believe this person who's telling you that, and in some cases, you may not believe. There are people who would just play along like nothing happened, and some people may just have it in mind that you offended him or her. But they don't tell you about it, and that you may want to make sure that you didn't offend him or her, and that's okay. Because it could be your way to make sure nothing is wrong, especially if you're still trying to get to know a new person. Doesn't mean that you don't trust them. If you listen to your heart of when it's the right time to ask this person if you offended them or not, you would know and trust your instincts. Now, if you on purpose kept trying to make sure that you offended someone, but just to make them... Now, let me start that over. Now, if you on purpose kept trying to make sure that you offended someone just to make them mad, frustrated, or annoyed, then that's wrong for you to do that. But as long as you do it because you feel like you need to ask, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with making sure in that type of situation. Now, I do want to say this. Even someone tells you that they would tell you if they were offended or not, you can tell by their body language. Now, let me explain this. If you don't let's start over. If you don't happen to understand this, if you are looking at the other person's body language and you can tell that they are mad about something, you don't know if they are mad at you or mad at somebody else. And sometimes when you listen to your heart, listen to your instincts, you may feel like that you have to make sure that you didn't offend them just to make sure they are not mad at you or something. When you are trying to make a living, you got to think about all the possibilities. Also, when you are making sure of something, make sure to think it through first. Make sure to think it through first. Also, to see if it's something you feel like that you need to make sure of. People who have anxiety, making sure of something can be a part of that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just making sure something can be a part of your anxiety. But just because it could be a part of your anxiety does not mean that there aren't ways that you can work around it. You just need to trust yourself and allow yourself to work your way around it. Let's talk about the meaning of being confident even though you're making sure of something. When you feel like that you have to make sure that you didn't offend someone by asking them at the right time, It doesn't mean that you are not being confident because you don't trust this person who you are trying to talk, trying to make. Let me start over. I'm going to start from the top. When you feel like that you have to make sure that you didn't offend someone by asking them at the right time, it doesn't mean that you are not being confident because you don't trust this person who you are trying to make sure to, because you can still trust that person and because you can still be confident about other things. It's probably your way of checking if everything is alright. But even though you are making sure, it's not always a bad thing. You don't know if you offended someone unless you ask them. Unless you want to wait until someone tells you that you offended them. A lot of times you don't know when you offended someone. And that's where you need to figure out how you can make sure that you didn't offend them. And by doing that, you're confident and brave to make sure that you didn't offend them yourself. Words of wisdom. I'm going to talk about that. Talking about words of wisdom that reply to what I just talked about today. Let's get started. Don't be shy to make your speeches. Comforting yourself with talking makes a miracle. For all our hearts say, communication is important, and you shall let us speak from the heart. That's words of wisdom 1. Number 2 says, relax yourself so good things can happen. And we should trust ourselves to make sure those good things happen. For all our hearts, we have our hearts to listen to. We believe in our hearts as we trust our hearts to believe in us. When we listen to our hearts, let me start that over. Number 2 says, relax yourself so good things can happen, and we should trust ourselves to make sure those good things happen. For all our hearts, we have our hearts to listen to. We believe in our hearts as we trust our hearts to believe in us when we listen to our hearts. Number 3 says, I believe to be brave in my confidence to make miracles and amazings happen. For all I know, I can get better at my confidence as well. I know I can do better for myself. I believe in my heart whenever... Yeah, let me start over now. I believe in my heart wherever I am and my confidence. I'm never too far away from my confidence in this world. That was what number 4 said. Sorry about this, guys. I'm nervous. This is my first time making videos like this, so I'm kind of nervous. So if you see me start over, that's what's happening. Okay. Number 5 says oh, hold on. Oh, okay. That was it for the 4 of them. I go on. Every time I make sweet words of wisdom or sweet quotes for the speeches of a sweetheart angel. Yeah, hold on. Let me start over. Every time I make sweet words of wisdom or sweet quotes for the speeches of the sweetheart Angelheart Tweetheart videos, it's giving you guys something to put in your hearts and your memories so you can look back on them to see what they remind you of when needed. These words of wisdom and quotes that I make can send messages to make people's days better. Okay? Now, I go on more about the topic of making sure of something. Now, another way that you can make sure of something is when doing an activity. Let's say, for example, cooking. Okay? If there's something in the recipe that you don't understand about or something doesn't make sense to you, even when you are trying to read a recipe, You can always ask somebody to make sure you are doing the right thing. Or if something doesn't make sense to you, you can ask someone to explain what doesn't make sense to you. What about when playing a game? Sometimes you might am I playing this right? Hold on, let me restart that. What about when playing a game? Sometimes you might be like, am I playing this right? You may have someone who knows how to play the game well, or you could read from the instruction manual book. There are different ways that you can make sure of in life. Just remember when it's the right time to make sure of something. Just remember when it's the right time to make sure of something. Remember, the whole point of me making these videos is not just because I'm saying that things that are gonna make people's days, but you can try to share them with other people to make their lives better or good. Now, when I say you can share them with other people, I don't mean to force them to do it after you share with them, because you can't change what or how other people feel or think, but you can try to share them. And as long as you try, that's all that matters. So something I like to do at the end of the video is give us something called advice of the day. Let's see what it says. Advice of the day. Always listen to your heart to see whether or not it's the right time to make sure of something. Alright, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry if I had to repeat certain things. I just was nervous about I made videos on YouTube before, but it was but not something like this when I talk about this stuff. So, but we got through it.